Hello, I'd like to talk to you today about decoys. A decoy is related to the idea you sometimes get in a chess game. Oh, if only my opponent's piece was on this square and not that one. Well, perhaps you could persuade them to move it to the square that you want. That's a decoy. And here's an example from Giacomo Greco, the strongest Italian player, known as the Greek of the early, well, actually the strongest player in the world probably, of the 1600s. And normal developing moves by white. Black tries to steal a pawn, got a fork on e4 and g2. Well, we'll let them have the one on e4. And now it's our go. Now if we pay attention to the f7 square, often a tender spot, we can attack it with knight to g5, but at the moment that loses the bishop on c4. We can chase the queen away with d3 and protect the bishop on c4 with the same move, but how about taking it straight away? Check. King takes, shouldn't take, but let's say they do, and now we've decoyed the king where we want it. Knight to g5 check with a fork of king and queen and a winning. Well done, Greco. Same sort of idea, and in another game, this is played between Mourinho and Padula by correspondence, I think in 1980. And we'll fast forward to the bit of the game that we're interested in, and here's another exposed queen, and we can see that there's an obvious pin on b5 with the bishop, and you might be tempted to say, oh well, perhaps I'll move my pawn up to a4, and then that'll be a terrific move. Well, if you got to play both moves, a4 and bishop to b5, it would be terrific, but it's black's go first. And they might move the queen, or play bishop d7, or play a6 or something, and you probably wasted a move. We've also got a secondary sort of idea that if the queen wasn't there, if we could persuade the queen to move, we've got knight takes on c7 check, which is a fork of the king and the rook. Aha! One good way to think about chess positions is, well, what if I play the move that I want to anyway? Bishop to b5, and now it works. We'll decoy the queen to b5. The queen has to take the bishop if it doesn't want to be lost, but it's lost anyway because of knight takes c7 check. Very nice. And so I'm sure you've got the idea by now, so I'll just show you one to really rub it home. Here's a really nice study by Rink from 1922. And you're just given the position, white to play and win. Probably not going to checkmate the king in the middle there. Probably not going to queen a pawn in any sort of hurry. So can we win the queen? We can attack the queen. How does that help? We know we can actually see also the queen doesn't have that many squares. If the queen moves, if it wasn't our go and the queen moved, where could it go to? Well, there's f7. No, that doesn't look too good. How about e6? Well, if e6, then we've got a skewer. Move the pawn, so the rook up to a6, and we managed to win the queen by a skewer. d5 doesn't look too good. c4 is okay at the moment. Not b3. a2 looks okay. h7 is okay, and plenty of squares along the back rank. But if we attack the queen with rook to a8, that rules out all the squares on the back rank, and if the queen takes the rook, then we've got bishop to f3 check with a skewer, having decoyed the queen to a8. And that's the clue. We now know that if rook a8, queen e6, rook goes to a6 with another skewer. If the queen comes to d5, well, it wasn't okay because of the rook, but now it's not okay because of the bishop. Moves to pin with bishop to f3. And the last one of the last moves, rook to c4, queen to c4, met by rook to c8 with yet another skewer. So if the rook attacks it on rook attacks the queen, where can the queen move to? Well, really only h7 and a2. If we hide on a2, rook takes a4, and there's another skewer coming up. Queen takes a4, bishop e8 check. So after rook takes a4, the queen goes back to g8, and now rook a8 again, and the queen's been chased off every square on that diagonal and has to hide on h7. And now one last decoy, bishop to g6, setting up one last skewer. Queen takes g6, rook to a6 check. Beautiful. And if you weren't sure what a decoy was, or even if you weren't sure what a skewer was, I hope you'll never forget it after watching that. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much.